Yes! 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 We're going home!
Hey, what is up, everybody? This is Trooper Coop signing on, and today I'm back with another Troop Scoop. The time has come, guys. Today I'm reviewing Halo Infinite. I had the pleasure of playing through this game over the last week, and as someone who really didn't like the narrative of Halo 5, I gotta say, this is a true return to form. This feels like a Bungie Halo. It has the heart and soul of the originals. That goes without saying. I know a lot of people disliked Halo 4. I think it's one of the better games in terms of story, just because we get to see the Master Chief as a human, and we get a more personal look at his and Cortana's relationship. However, Halo Infinite, what did I think? I love this game so much. Yeah, I just had to get that out of the way. I took my sweet ass time with this title and did everything the game had to offer on the heroic difficulty. They really nailed everything here. The music, the combat, equipment, writing, art design, and story are just phenomenal. However, this game isn't perfect, and I'll get into the issues I have with it as a huge Halo guy. So let's start with the story. Halo Infinite takes place after the events of Halo 5. Although it continues the story, this game is somewhat of a soft reboot. After the destruction of the ship Infinity by the Banished Hands, the remaining survivors are scattered on a newly discovered ring called Zeta Halo. With the help of Echo 219 and the weapon, the Master Chief must uncover what exactly the Banished are looking for on the ring and put an end to their ever-growing threat. The first thing I'll say about this story is that it plays it very safe. Don't get me wrong, I loved it, but it truly doesn't take any risks. If you're a big fan, there's tons of fan service here and scenes that will have you tearing up.
What do I call her?
Ask her. She named herself.
Hello, Master Chief. I'm Cortana.
I cried like 3 or 4 times during this game. I'm not even kidding. If you followed the Master Chief and Cortana story closely, you'll tear up just like I did. If you're new to the franchise, and unfortunately Halo Infinite does not do a good job of getting you caught up with the events taking place, and you'll be lost on a lot of what is being said if you haven't played the other games. This game is very much a Chief story, like older Halos, and they absolutely landed it very well here.
Something stopped your deletion. We need to find out why.
But this wasn't the mission.
The missions changed. They always do.
The writing is pretty superb, and though Chief has a ton of one-liners and never verges on comical or gets in the way, he is a man of very few words and only says what needs to be said, which serves the story. And while the Master Chief is a man of very few words, the rest of the cast more than make up for it, and they even have really good chemistry. Echo 219, or the pilot as everyone is calling him, is a very jittery and anxious guy that just wants to get away from the war. The weapon is the comedic relief, and I gotta say I was really worried that it was gonna verge on cringy, but she actually is the right amount of quirky.
Can you operate it?
In my sleep? Not that I sleep, but...
And I loved when the Chief and her shared scenes together. They even managed to make a pretty compelling villain named Escharum. At first, he starts out as a one-note villain, and it just seems like he wants to kill everyone and deliver a monologue every 5 seconds, but as the game progresses, you get some insight into his past and actually understand why he is the way he is. He fights with honor and strength, and he looks upon those who fight with honor and strength much like the Chief does. There are even times where he and the Chief show respect for each other due to their warrior nature. It truly was awesome to see Chief's more human side once again, and on top of that, to see him empathize with an enemy is crazy. Now, the gameplay. Gotta say, this game really reminded me of Doom Eternal. It gives you that power fantasy and truly makes you feel like an unstoppable badass, but it doesn't quite have the speed that Doom does. The Master Chief has weight in his movements, and you can feel just how heavy this guy is. The grapple shot and other equipment really make this game flow as well as it does. I emphasize the grapple shot because I hardly used any other equipment. The grapple shot is just amazing. It allows you to zip around the battlefield, pull weapons to you, hijack vehicles, and even swing through the air like you're goddamn Spider-Man. I seriously never got tired of exploring the world and partaking in the side content because the grapple is just so damn good. While I'm here though, I might as well talk about the other equipment. You have a drop wall which acts as cover, a sensor which highlights enemies through walls, a thrust to evade, and a column to upgrade your energy shield so you're able to take more damage. The bulk of this game is combat, so it better be damn good, and man oh man, is it ever. I think my total runtime was 20 or so hours, and that was due to all the exploration, and I'm still not tired of it. In fact, I started another playthrough because that's just how much fun it is. All the guns feel like they have their own place in certain scenarios which are ideal for them. For instance, the battle rifle is great for hitting the jackal's weak spots and lowering their shields, the assault rifle is great for taking on a group of weaker grunts, and the rocket launcher is great for mowing down a crowd. The new additions to the arsenal are also welcomed. The Banished have their own unique weapons that fit right into the universe. The Brute's version of a rocket launcher is a cannon that fires spears. Yes, you heard me, spears. It's amazing. Another addition to the combat takes the form of canisters that you're able to pick up and throw, literally throw at opponents. I have one gripe with the combat, and that is the combat that revolves around the vehicles. The multitude of vehicles at your disposal just do not feel good to handle. They're too weighty, or they're too light. They're too light. And they seem to do very little damage, making them a last resort for me. I hardly ever used vehicles, even when I had a tank at my disposal. Not to mention, a lot of this game is mountainous terrain, and the vehicles just do not drive well on mountainous terrain. The combat this time around feels all about movement and keeping the pace going, but when you're in a vehicle, it feels like you're going against how the game was built. I was very interested to see how this new Halo would play as a semi-open world game, and after beating it, honestly, I think it was mostly a positive for me. Then again, I'm a huge Halo fan, so yes, there might be some bias here. But I didn't mind doing all the side content and finding the audio logs. I really care about that stuff, and if you don't, to be honest, the side content is mostly filler. The side content consists of bounties, broadcast towers, outposts, gear lockers, and Spartan core upgrades. Oh, sorry, and FOBs, but I'll get to them last. Bounty targets offer a harder challenge and a unique weapon if you manage to kill them. A nice touch that I liked is that in the menu, you're able to read a full bio on the target you're hunting, which actually gives them more personality. Very nice touch, 343. Broadcast towers are just towers that need blowing up, however the grunts do all the voice work for them, so some of them could be downright hilarious.
I thought I'd pretty much plumbed the depths of my hatred of humans, but then I had a supremely crappy day, and oh, what's this? All the way at the bottom of my heart, even more hatred for humans.
If you want to know what happened with characters that don't show up in this game, audio logs are a must. They give you information of what certain characters were doing during the war. Outposts are multi-stage arenas where you have to destroy several parts of a base and clear them of Banished. Spartan cores and gear lockers are just found laying around the map. Spartan cores give you upgrades for your equipment and suit so that you can grow and become more powerful, and lockers grant you multiplayer cosmetics, though I think I got all of them in the map and didn't get any meaningful multiplayer cosmetics. I don't know if they change every time you play the game, or if you're just going to get the same ones. I have no idea, I didn't test this. Last but not least are the FOBs, or forward operating bases, that are scattered around the map. These are pretty much the core of the open world. As you unlock FOBs and take on side content, your overall rank will increase in a battle pass-like unlock system, allowing you to unlock better equipment, guns, and vehicles at each FOB. Special guns you get from taking on bounties will also transfer here. You can access these guns at any time. This freedom really lets you pick exactly how you want to take on each objective. I have two big gripes with how Halo handled the open world. While you have different guns and vehicles to take on outposts differently, there isn't really a good stealth option. Yes, you can cloak, but as soon as an enemy falls, the AI knows exactly where you are, and it just doesn't feel fully fleshed out. It's a big misstep. It's open world. It would have been awesome to have stealth takedowns and animations. They took them out. I think it's obviously to keep the game fast paced, but I digress. The second gripe I have is that in the latter half of the game, you see yourself going through underground dungeons and labyrinths, so you're unable to access any of the FOB guns that you unlocked from a certain point up until you beat the game. This seems like a misstep because you spend the first 3/4 of the game unlocking all this stuff, if you so choose to do, like I did, and once you drop one of your weapons in the underground dungeon and it's out of ammo, it's just gone, and you can't access any of those weapons until you beat the game, which is very disappointing. We're moving on to bosses. In the past, Halo has tried its share of boss battles, but unfortunately, they never really stuck the landing or left a memorable impact on me. This game, however, is quite the opposite, and I could definitely say they pulled the boss fights off pretty well. Each take place in their own setting with their own unique villain, and while they're mostly one-note characters with no backstory, their abilities and weapons change it up. I'll also add that their designs are fantastic. I, however, didn't find them all that challenging. I think I died once on each of the bosses, aside from the first boss and the last boss. The first boss I didn't see coming, and he just kept wiping the floor with me, and the last boss just has a really cheap lock-on move that he just kept killing me with. Granted, I played on heroic, so it was a little more difficult. But mostly after learning how I died, it was pretty easy to avoid death, especially with the grappling hook. They do take quite a bit of damage to go down, but most were fairly simple. You usually get through the really tough shield, and then you just gotta headshot them a couple times and they're dead. Overall, though, I think 343 came back with a banger, and while I didn't hate the art design of their version of Halo, it is very nice to see a return to the classic style. They nailed what makes Halo Halo, and in the end, that's what matters. Sure, there are a few missteps, but nothing game-breaking, and certainly nothing worth skipping this title. 343 has said that they plan to make this game a 10-year commitment, and while it sounds promising, I very much dislike the live service game model. They ended the story on a cliffhanger, and that is obviously setting up story expansions, and with them I imagine we will see different parts of the ring and uncover whatever it's hiding. The reason I don't like the live service game model is because anyone can ship an incomplete game now, and they say they'll add to it. We used to pay for fully finished games. Those days are gone, unfortunately. This Halo is a victim of that model because despite a great campaign, the game is still very much unfinished. For instance, co-op, a staple of the series, is delayed until May, and the creation tool Forge is missing as well. This is not okay when you're asking people to pay full price for it. The multiplayer is also incomplete, but I'm not going to get into that. It's free to play, so whatever. But the campaign, unless you have Game Pass, you have to pay for the campaign, and it's full price. So, with that said, I just hope 343 can keep the ball rolling. They got a good start. The game plays really well. I didn't have any bugs. There's a lot of popping in the world. The engine doesn't look as good as it could, but it's still great. And I think there's a lot of potential here. I just cross my fingers that 343 can keep it going and keep content coming to the game if it's going to be a 10-year commitment. So with that said, it's a solid campaign. 343 landed on the right foot mostly, and I can't wait to see what Halo Infinite becomes in the coming years. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did enjoy this video, consider leaving a like, a comment, and subscribing to the channel, as I'm going to do more videos just like this. With that said, this is Trooper Coop signing off.